I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Bond.
James Bond.
Since 1962, Agent 007 has been thrilling audiences around the world as he stopped a series of madmen from enacting their nefarious plans. Always calm, always cool, and always getting the girl. In the mid-1990s, Bond was once again recast and rebooted, this time with Pierce Brosnan in the iconic role. 4 movies later, Brosnan, after carrying the franchise into the 21st century, passed the 00 mantle to Daniel Craig for a more modern, grittier take on Ian Fleming's suave MI6 superspy. But who was the better Bond? There's only one way to find out. Face Off! Disclaimer, no actual science was used to determine the outcome of Face Off. Your results may vary. Please do not consume Face Off if you are allergic to conjecture, opinion, or general nonsense. Each Bond performance comes down to the actor's signature styles. Pierce Brosnan has long been a debonair, charming Irishman, and brought a similar old-school charisma to the role, not unlike Sean Connery and Timothy Dalton.
Exactly what kind of banking do you specialize in, Mr. Bond?
Hostile takeovers.
Brosnan-era Bond delivered one-liners with the unflappable air of a hero who felt invincible.
She always did enjoy a good squeeze.
Daniel Craig has the requisite confidence, but also an underlying tension. His rugged Bond has zero time for bullshit, and sometimes it's difficult to tell who's more moody, his Bond or Craig himself. That vibe translates to an irascible Bond who takes no prisoners, but also one who can lack the cheeky sense of humor Bond has been known for over the last 60 years. This round goes to... Pierce Brosnan's 007 probably had the last of the goofy, quasi-magical gadgets that James Bond has been known for during much of his movie career. A grappling hook belt, a watch with a laser, a nifty aspect of the GoldenEye game, an explosive cigarette lighter, X-ray glasses, a mobile phone pulling quadruple duty as a taser, lockpick, scanner, and vehicle remote control, and of course, a clicky pen that doubles as a grenade.
How long did you say the fuse was?
On the other hand, Daniel Craig's Bond movies introduce a 21st century realism, relying less on fantastical gadgets and more on practical implements for spycraft.
Are you expecting an exploding pen? We don't really go in for that anymore.
A rudimentary tracking device, a high-end cell phone, a Walther PPK with palm scanner ID, and perhaps most importantly, a convenient glove compartment defibrillator. In Spectre, Craig's Bond barely has anything fun to work with.
Does it do anything? It tells the time.
Although it's actually more useful than that, assisting in the escape of Blofeld's torture while giving the villain his familiar facial scarring.
Doesn't time fly?
This round goes to... Pierce Brosnan had a pretty sweet selection of whips in his tenure as 007. A BMW Z3 and the famous Aston Martin DB5 in GoldenEye, a BMW and the DB5 again in Tomorrow Never Dies, a BMW Z8 in The World Is Not Enough, and a classic Ford Fairlane in Die Another Day, not to mention that Aston Martin V12 Vanquish with the handy if preposterous invisibility mode. But what's with all the BMWs? Must have been the $100 million they paid MGM to get Bond behind their wheel. Daniel Craig benefits as a modern Bond that also pays tribute to the past. In Casino Royale, he gets a dope Aston Martin DBS V12, and the good old DB5 makes a welcome return. Quantum of Solace brings another new Aston Martin, and by the time Skyfall rolls around, the DB5 gets dusted off once more, which works well as the entire movie is an ode to Bond's legacy. There's also the addition of a Land Rover Defender to liven things up. Spectre saw another update to the Aston Martin line with the DB10, probably the sexiest one yet. The only appearance from the classic DB5 this time around was in a heap in Q's office.
I believe I said bring it back in one piece, not bring back one piece.
This round goes to... It's been said that a hero is only as good as his villain. Bond villains have always been gimmicky to some extent, and Brosnan's rogues gallery is no exception. There's Alec Trevelyan, 00 agent turned facially scarred weapons dealer, Elliot Carver, essentially news tycoon Rupert Murdoch as a Bond villain, Bernard, a KGB agent turned terrorist, impervious to pain thanks to a bullet in his brain, and Gustav Graves, a cocky British entrepreneur who's actually a rogue North Korean colonel named Moon following a face transplant.
I'd like to take his face off.
Brosnan also deals with some interesting hench people, most notably Famke Janssen's man-crushing Xenia Onatopp. Craig's villains have also had some classic Bond flavor in their recipes. Well, apart from Mr. White, who's more of a boring beige, Mads Mikkelsen's fantastic blood-weeping Le Chiffre, Javier Bardem's ruthless former MI6 agent Raul Silva and his fucked-up face, and Christoph Waltz's Oberhauser and eventual Blofeld and his fucked-up face.
Ouch.
While Quantum of Solace provided some uninspiring baddies, Craig's villains tend to be more multi-dimensional characters than outrageous caricatures. This round goes to... The Bond series has often featured competent and confident women, and Brosnan's entries are no exception, with Michelle Yeoh and Halle Berry's skilled secret agents, Sophie Marceau's conniving oil baroness, and even Denise Richards' unlikely nuclear scientist. The Brosnan incarnation did recognize that the cavalier, womanizing behavior was becoming outdated as the world changed around him.
Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur.
And his rendition is the last of the classic Bonds, at least in terms of his predilection towards hooking up and then moving along his merry way. Craig's Bond is the one that actually carries a romantic through line. The death of Eva Green's Vesper Lind at the beginning of his 007 career becomes a driving force and an explanation for his Bond's approach to casual sex. While he shares brief moments with Olga Kurylenko, Gemma Arterton, and Berenice Marlowe, he's also emotionally detached, only later truly falling for someone a second time with Léa Seydoux' Dr. Madeleine Swan. While Brosnan's Bond never seems affected by his relationships, Craig's Bond finds his life continuously upended by the women in his world. It's hard to say who the winner really is. This round goes to... Bond movies are known for their absolutely gorgeous, exotic location shoots, and both Brosnan and Craig got to do plenty of globetrotting. Brosnan's first-class ticket takes him to Monte Carlo, St. Petersburg, Havana, Hamburg, Istanbul, and an ice hotel in Iceland, naturally. Craig's passport gets stamps from Madagascar, Montenegro, Venice, Austria, Shanghai, Macau, Mexico City, Morocco, Rome, the Bond family estate in Scotland, and of course, an exploding hotel in the Bolivian desert. This round goes to... Bond has the steadfast M, assigning missions and getting generally annoyed with his tactics, and both Brosnan and Craig have the incomparable Dame Judi Dench guiding them. Prior to GoldenEye, M was always a male character, allowing for a breath of fresh air with Dench's powerful, no-nonsense approach as Bond's superior. M's death in Skyfall is perhaps the most emotional moment in a series not exactly known for its emotional moments. Craig also gets the benefit of Ray Fiennes' sharp-dressed replacement Mallory, who takes on the designation of M following his predecessor's death. But only Brosnan's Bond can say M didn't die on his watch. This round goes to... Desmond Llewellyn kitted out every Bond since Sean Connery in From Russia with Love, all the way through The World Is Not Enough in 1999, the year he sadly died. His ongoing exasperation with Bond is legendary, as his tireless work constantly results in destruction at the hands of 007. Llewellyn was succeeded by John Cleese's R, an altogether goofier gadget man handing out high-tech toys. Craig gets a much younger quartermaster, as played by Ben Whishaw. Even with his understated charm, Whishaw's Q comes across as mainly a computer nerd with a limited social life.
I also have a mortgage and 2 cats to feed.
Well, then I suggest you trust me. For the sake of the cats.
This round goes to... Both Brosnan and Craig share a franchise starter with Martin Campbell, who was responsible for GoldenEye and Casino Royale. Brosnan failed to attract any other particularly impressive names to the director's chair after that, leading to capable but conventional shooters like Roger Spottiswoode, Michael Apted, and Lee Tamahori, creating some mediocre Bond movies. In addition to Martin Campbell generating excitement with his second Bond reboot, Craig had the buzz of Monsters Ball director Mark Forster on Quantum of Solace, And then Sam Mendes and his Academy Award-winning pedigree on back-to-back Bond outings, which were the most financially successful to date. This round goes to... What is a Bond movie without its theme song? Brosnan's Bond enjoyed GoldenEye by Tina Turner, Tomorrow Never Dies by Sheryl Crow, The World Is Not Enough by Garbage, and Die Another Day by Madonna. Your mileage may vary as to how recognizable and memorable any of those still are. Craig's Bond got a more rockin' vibe and ditched using the movie's titles, with You Know My Name by Chris Cornell for Casino Royale, and Another Way to Die by Jack White and Alicia Keys for Quantum of Solace. Adele returned to a title song with Skyfall, catching an Academy Award for it, the first ever for a Bond song, and it was followed by another shiny Oscar win for Sam Smith's Writings on the Wall. This round goes to... While both Brosnan and Craig look dashing in the black and white tuxedo, the color green is also important. Brosnan's Bond raked in $1.47 billion worldwide from his 4 increasingly bombastic outings. Daniel Craig, on the other hand, leaves Brosnan looking like a rank amateur, with $3 billion in box office receipts, with over $1 billion of that coming just from Skyfall. This round goes to... Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig both have their fans, who will defend them to their last breath. Every generation has a Bond, and nostalgia often plays a big role in how fondly we remember our favorites through the years. Brosnan was the last of a dying breed, a Bond trying to cling to old behavior while the world evolved. He did feel like a natural successor to Timothy Dalton and even Roger Moore, if not Sean Connery. His gadgets were great, and his rapport with Q was more of the same droll dynamic.
Don't touch that! It's my lunch.
His allies and villains were reasonably memorable, and he always looked effortlessly smooth while gunning down bad guys. And he also brought us Judi Dench's quintessential M. Although the Bond movies after Brosnan were an obvious reaction to the success of the Bourne franchise and its scrappy, frenetic action, Daniel Craig brought James Bond kicking and screaming into the 21st century. His temperamental spy offers a more flawed take on the character, one who makes mistakes,
and now he knows something about you. He knows you're reckless.
And isn't particularly concerned about his cocktail preparation.
Vodka martini. Shaken or stirred? Do I look like I give a damn?
Craig's emotional vulnerability and rough-and-tumble fighting style presented a modern James Bond who isn't overly reliant on gadgets, but still gets shit done with plenty of style. Ultimately, in this battle of the Bonds, the edge goes to Daniel Craig.
The name's Bond. James Bond.